So this week's podcast was actually a happy, harken back to old episodes. Did you notice this?
No.
So this movie has 3 people associated with it that we have done in previous podcast episodes. So I am going to test your memory of our podcast to see if you know what it is.
Okay.
Okay. So let's start with the director, Joe Dante. What have we done that Joe Dante has done?
Damn, I don't remember.
Our first ever interview came from this.
Oh, Buried in the X.
Yes, there you go. I feel we are doing a serious disservice to Joe Dante for that to be the movie we've done of his and not Gremlins, or I heard that Piranha and The Howling were also really well-known movies of his that I have not seen, but
I mean, Gremlins is definitely the first one.
Gremlins, we need to get on that. I feel like that needs to make it up the list. Okay, Tom Hanks.
Saving Private Ryan, The Post.
All of the
yeah, we've done quite a few Tom Hanks movies.
Yeah, we might be a little bit in love with him. And then Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher.
This one's a tricky one. We did a photo for this podcast in New York when we were, I don't know if we were visiting someone. I don't remember why we were there.
We were just on vacation in Coney Island?
We were on vacation, yeah.
Damn, I don't have any idea.
When Harry Met Sally.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, isn't that kind of cool though? 3 different people. Now, an actor we have not done a movie for that I feel that we should also fix would be Corey Feldman.
Well, we have done a Corey Feldman now.
We have. So this movie is The Burbs.
I'm Tyler.
I'm Shay.
And this is Cinematically Correct.
And yeah, you guys have been recommending The Burbs to us for, I don't even know, since the onset of this podcast. So we finally got to it. And I feel like we're going to disappoint all of you. So, yes.
I'm actually kind of looking forward to disappointing and crushing the souls of a few people.
This is getting back to our roots here. We are doing that. Okay, so before we do that, should we get to the beer?
The beer.
Well, it'll crush your soul, which is what they're waiting for.
So this is actually what I thought was a local brewery to us. It's the famous Narragansett.
So we thought it was from Narragansett, because, why wouldn't we?
So that's Rhode Island, or supposed to be Rhode Island. It's actually Narragansett Brewing Company, Rochester, New York, somehow. Okay. Which makes no sense. But we bought this because it says "Hi Neighbor" down the side of the can.
Which is very appropriate, obviously.
Yeah. And I'm going to hate this.
We are rooting for that.
Yeah, that's just as mediocre as I remember.
It's the movie, yeah?
I mean, yeah, it's kind of like that everyday kind of Budweiser, PBR kind of. Yeah.
Just that. It sounds exactly like what you should be drinking for this movie. So do you want to give a brief synopsis?
Brief synopsis.
Brief synopsis. Tom Hanks is neighbors to a bunch of weird people that investigate an even weirder neighbor that is a murderer.
That was a very long, drawn out, slow.
That's about as brief as I can make it. They live in a neighborhood and they all spy on the weird neighbor.
Yeah, basically. Okay, so I'm actually going to default to you a lot for this because this is from 1989, I believe. So I was born in 1988. So
I was born in 86. I'm not going to be that much help.
But you're much more of a film buff for earlier films than I am. So I don't know a lot of these people. Tom Hanks, I know. I mean, God, we've done a lot of the movies.
Yeah.
And also, if you don't know Tom Hanks, he is the most delightful man. From everything that I've seen on every kind of internet, I don't think I've heard anyone say a negative word about him except for crazy conspiracy theories, which we ignore.
Those don't count because they have not tethered themselves to reality.
Yeah. He plays Ray Peterson, which is just a regular middle-aged guy who is on vacation from work and decides that instead of going away for vacation, he's going to stay home and investigate weird things that are going on in his own neighborhood.
Yeah, and he actually fought very hard to try to tailor his image in this movie by getting his son's character written out of the movie. He didn't want to be typecast as that middle-aged guy just then in his career, so he was still looking to be
young and hip.
Yeah. And so he didn't want to have kids and be the father
dad.
figure. Yeah.
No.
Uh,
I understand that.
it's a bit of a dick move there, Tom.
Okay, so Carrie Fisher plays his wife. So plays Carol Peterson.
If you don't know who Carrie Fisher is,
She's
it's Star Wars.
Star
Obviously, that's the thing that you know her from.
Yeah. So
Always.
Well, we also had her in When Harry Met Sally, but she plays, typical wife. And I was actually shocked to find out that she is the exact same age as Tom Hanks.
Yeah, she was born the same year. Unfortunately, obviously, she's passed away.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Yes, but I'm actually really happy to have seen her in this because it's a total departure from what I expected.
It's a total departure from the
great.
gold bikini that has haunted her entire career.
Yeah, but she did wonderful in this.
That people are still doing to this. Like, how typecast can a person be?
Yeah, I don't know. But there's not much more to the character than being a supportive wife. So, another character that I wanted to mention was Corey Feldman, who plays Ricky Butler. My actual favorite character in this film, and he was just kind of like a punk kid, and I say punk because he has like the punk aesthetic.
Yeah, it's a leather jacket, the 80s pre-grunge kind of rocker look.
Yeah, and basically his whole thing is just watching all the adults be dumb and make asses of themselves. Like literally that's his vibe, and I'm here for that, honestly. Like that part of the movie I enjoyed. And did you want to bring up anybody else?
I mean, the creepy old neighbor, let's see, Henry Gibson. So the only other thing that I can think I've seen him from was the Disney Channel movie Luck of the Irish. I mean, he's been in other things, but that's the one I can most remember.
See, that sounds really familiar, but I don't know that I've seen that.
Leprechaun kid plays basketball.
Oh, no, definitely not.
It's like a Disney Channel movie, like from back in the day.
Wow. The only other one I would say anything about would be Theodore Gottlieb. There was an interview of him from David Letterman, I believe it is. And he is, I think he has passed, unfortunately, but he was a very strange man. And he played his bits so well that people didn't know if he was actually like a little bit, off or if he was
just a good actor.
Right. And you need to look up like David Letterman interviews with him because it's just like, what is going on? It's strange. It's weird. It's funny. Like, I think he just must have been an amazing actor is what I think it must have been. But anyways, it's very interesting. And I watched way too many of them while researching this. But okay. So that is everything for the IMDb. So we have quite a few topics. Now, I feel so bad because I feel like we're just going to ruin everything, but stay with us. We're going to try.
We can't ruin anything. This movie came out in the 80s. Like, there's no spoilers.
But I feel like people really wanted us to love this because we love Tom Hanks. So let's start there, right? Let's start there. So we do love Tom Hanks. And this movie did not change that for me. I don't know if it changed it for you.
No, this is probably the least favorite movie I've ever watched of Tom Hanks.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about that. So how do you think this Tom Hanks character compared to other Tom Hanks characters that we're used to?
See, so I think Tom Hanks falls into two main categories in his career. He's, especially early on, was the affable, likable person character.
Yes,
always.
Absolutely.
Like even if he was playing a disagreeable character from like League of Their Own, where he was a drunk and just kind of a curmudgeon, he had that heart of gold.
He was still Tom Hanks.
Yeah. So he didn't lose that part of it, and that shines through in a lot of his earlier work. And then, especially later on in his career, he's more of the serious, dramatic actor. I don't think we got either of those in this movie.
No.
Like, there's no affable, likable part of it. He was just very bothered by his neighbors, and rightly so. I'm not judging him for that because they're terrible, but there was no real chance for us to like Tom Hanks's character.
Yeah, and I mean, so I felt like, for one, I didn't relate to his character in any way. I kind of felt like, just mind your business, man. Like, why are you being so nosy?
Stay in your lane?
Yeah, like, why are you doing that? And then, like, why are you, like, I know that he was supposed to be the kind of, like, the reasonable one. The one that, like, thought things through and, like, that kind of stuff. And the other ones were kind of being, like, more of the out there ones. And he was just more following. But, like, be an adult and realize that, like, breaking and entering and burning down your neighbor's house is probably not, like, recommended regardless of what they've done. So, yeah, I don't know. I found it hard to relate to him. And then I didn't find any redeeming qualities to like kind of.
I mean, if you're gonna burn your neighbor's house down, it does help that they're a serial killer. Like that does
help.
Yeah.
But I don't know that burning people's houses down is like the recommended course
of action. You need to
action.
have that in your back pocket before you do anything like that.
Yeah. You need to be sure because like what if they weren't? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like then he would have been the villain of the story. So
yeah.
So I think that they needed to give us a little bit more of the Tom Hanks we love to kind of relate to if you're going to give me this type of character.
We were robbed of a Tom Hanks movie. I don't even he's in this movie, but I don't consider this almost a classic Tom Hanks movie.
So one of the big things that Reddit was talking about this being a typical Tom Hanks movie was his physical comedy, like the way that he used his body to like make jokes and to emote and that kind of stuff. And he did do that well in this movie, but I guess I didn't relate to those emotions, so I didn't really kind of find that.
I think that's more the window dressing because you're still missing the underlying parts of why we like Tom Hanks. Like it's not just the bumbling, happy-go-lucky kind of like. There's something else that's missing from that.
There's like a piece of like him, his character that's just not there. Yeah, I have to agree there. So I am actually curious if I saw a Tom Hanks movie where he was meant to be just a horrible person with no redeemable qualities, if I would still feel I like him, or would that turn me off? Like I'm curious how that would go, because I don't think I've ever seen a movie where he's totally bad. Like even in A League of Their Own, he's crappy, but like he also has that side, you know.
I mean, the only movie that I can even think where he may not be a likable character is Road to Perdition.
Never seen it.
Well, it's a great movie. We might have to add that to the list because it's got Paul Newman.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm in. You sold me.
Tom Hanks, Paul Newman.
Yeah, I'm in.
So I think he plays a gangster in that one, and it's very much a serious drama role. But it's just you're getting more of the late stage Tom Hanks where he's in the role and he just kind of transforms into the person, and you kind of don't see Tom Hanks, you just see the performance, which is incredible because it's Tom Hanks. That's what you're looking for. Right, exactly. From that movie.
Okay, so that aside, so we've said that we didn't really feel we got the Tom Hanks vibe from this movie. So one of the reasons that this could be is because this was done in one of only two movies, I believe, done during the 1988 writer's strike.
Yeah, obviously it was, because the writing was garbage.
So, yeah, I mean, I do think that is an issue. I do know that one of the writers, I believe, was actually in the movie, but they weren't allowed to comment on the script.
Yeah, so they had to circumvent his obligations to the writers' union by having him act in the movie so that he was an actor, so that he was providing his feedback as an actor.
But he wasn't allowed to comment or write for the script.
They eventually did get him to do any comment on the script later on
down the road.
But I think it's very obvious that there was no actual writers behind this.
Yeah, so I think that there was a little bit of a disconnect with where they wanted the story to go. I felt in a lot of places where it was kind of dragging out, and it was just kind of like almost like there was like a gap in what should have happened.
It was like they were trying to cover every single area that they could cover about the suburbs and things that are not related to the suburbs, all in one kind of weird movie. They were going a billion different directions at the same time, and none of them actually landed.
Yeah, I mean, so one perk I think that came from the writer's strike is that the actors did have ad-lib ability, right? And one of the ad-lib scenes was Tom Hanks and Carrie Fisher doing their Jeopardy.
With notepads?
And I honestly thought that was so adorable.
And you're wanting to do that now for Jeopardy.
100%. First of all, I am terrible at trivia, but I enjoy it. Like, I like learning. I like kind of like, so I feel like having a notebook would kind of help me like retain the information.
You think they were keeping score and competing against each other?
I wonder if they were just writing down the answers. I mean, they could have been competing against each other too, but like I feel like they were also writing down the answers. But either way, I thought it was adorable, and I would like to do that. So like, can we go do that? They don't have Jeopardy on like Netflix or anything, do they?
No, I don't think they do.
They should get on that, because I would do it every night. Like, I'm in.
You'd binge watch old episodes of Jeopardy?
I 100% would. But anyways, I think things like that were really adorable. No, I did think another thing that was kind of a struggle for this movie was the fact that it was all done within just the one set. And I know that was supposed to be a perk. It was supposed to be like one of the few movies that did that. They didn't go outside of the burbs. They kind of, everything was just really in there. But I kind of felt like it lost.
There was nowhere to go. Like, there was just, it should have been a much shorter movie. It shouldn't have been a movie at all, but certainly a much shorter movie. It's just one set piece. There's only so much that you can scrape out of that one set. Like, you can't just keep going just to do scenes.
And if they were gonna do that, I feel like we should have gotten to see all of the neighbors' houses. Like, we should, and it should have all been like kind of like really different, right? Like, everybody had their own personality and like this whole thing, and it should have kind of been like everybody had like a weird part to them, you know, that you kind of like every time they're like, oh, maybe that's actually the weird neighbor, like maybe they're doing it because they're covering, you know what I mean? Like,
there had
more like intrigue there,
something more than just one neighborhood, really.
Yeah,
like,
it was just too. It didn't give me enough to be excited about or think about. It was just kind of like, okay, so we're still doing this. We're still looking for the weird people. Oh, okay, all right.
This is my hell. This is our reality of eternally living in the suburbs. Why am I?
Yeah.
Being punished this way?
Yeah, it would just, yeah. Okay, so the neighbor premise, right? So I wanted to ask you what you thought of the neighbor premise for a few reasons. One being, well, I mean, we have neighbors. Like, should we start with our personal experience with neighbors?
The neighbors that we hate or the neighbors that are actually nice?
Both. Let's.
So we've had poor relations with one of our neighbors.
That's putting it nicely.
So they have stolen no trespassing signs from our fence in our house. They park a trailer in our front yard.
Yep, and idle it where all of the exhaust comes into our home. Yeah. Fun.
Or at least they used to.
Yeah.
They slashed my tires.
They did that. Mm-hmm.
Which they played themselves because I've just left the car sitting there where their trailer used to park out of spite.
Yeah.
But you know, they're awful and they're miserable. They have loud motorcycles at 11, 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah, they're just not great people.
I'm pretty sure the police have been called for domestic violence at times.
Oh, sure. Yes, absolutely.
They're not great.
Yeah.
And then our other neighbors across the way are lovely. Like, came over to check on me to see if I needed to borrow a weed whacker when I was mowing the lawn. Strike up a conversation, introduce himself, like just a normal guy.
Normal people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. So outside of this little area, I really haven't had relations with neighbors. And as we get older, I feel it becomes less and less. But as a kid, I did have relations with neighbors.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had my neighbors from when I was growing up. Yeah, certainly. But it's kind of changed the dynamic because we're not kids.
Yes. So I did want to mention that when I was younger, we had a neighbor that we actually thought were vampires. Now, I did text my brother about this to confirm, first of all, that it was true, that I didn't make it up. Because, sometimes things you think happened as a kid didn't happen. You know? It was true. And he said the reason we felt that way was because we never saw them until nighttime. And he didn't figure out that the reason for this was actually that the husband was a train conductor. So he left super, super early before we got up in the morning to go to work. And he came back before we came home from school. So then
went to sleep because
right. Yeah. So we didn't see him because he was on a different schedule than us. And the woman was a stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home woman. She didn't have kids. And she just didn't leave the house. She didn't have friends. She was very, nervous and whatever. But then we also did actually go into that house at one point. We finally got invited. And it was so immaculate that we thought there had to be like magic at play. Like, she had cats and there was no hair anywhere. It was just like, nothing was out of place. We were like, oh, well, obviously there's something funny going on here. Like, that's weird, right? Like, I mean.
Interestingly enough, my friends growing up had a neighbor like that where they thought there was either vampire or werewolf or something going on. And I think that's a common thing for kids.
Yeah, maybe. But we can't explain it, so they must be vampires.
Yeah, I think so, because you're not the first person to tell me a similar story to that. I don't have any kind of story like that, but I've heard that before.
Yeah. Well, so we lived on a cul-de-sac, so there's just three of us. But I think like right now where we live on not a main road. We live on a back road kind of thing, but there's quite a few houses. And other than the two neighbors we mentioned, we have like no real association. We walk the dog and see people and all of that, but
I mean, apart from isolated incidents or the neighbors from hell, we don't really have that kind of interaction with our neighbors. We don't have friends that come over to our house. We don't have.
I mean, we don't have friends that come over to our house. Full stop. But no, we don't have like, you don't have the people that come and do the welcome to the neighborhood thing. We don't have neighborhood cookouts.
No, it's not a communal thing in our neighborhood. Like maybe that's just the region that we live in, New England, but that's not a thing that I can remember.
I mean, I also think it has to be the day and age, right? I mean, everybody's on social media and they do most of their socializing through that I feel like that kind of interaction has kind of gone to the wayside a bit. Although, I don't know, maybe like in the South or something, it's more friendly.
I don't know. I know that we don't talk to our neighbors. Like I will occasionally nod when I see someone walking a dog when I'm walking the dog, but it's not.
I hide if I see somebody, talking to me. So weird. But yeah, so I feel like that is hard for me to relate to. So I was actually curious if there were other movies that had that kind of premise, like that are more current. And you actually found that
there was Neighbors and Neighbors 2.
Yeah, which is Seth Rogen and Zac Efron.
Yep. There's The Girl Next Door, which you brought up.
Yeah, that one I remembered.
There's also Disturbia, which is Shia LaBeouf spying on his neighbor that's a murderer.
So apparently that is a premise that Hollywood enjoys, so I guess other people do. So I'm curious if you guys would tell us, email us cinematicallycorrect@gmail.com or tweet at us, and let us know, like, do you guys like, enjoy that premise, like, because you relate to it, or is it because it's unrelatable and it's something like that's different and weird for you that you like to see?
I mean, it is always fantastical in the movies. It's not a serial killer lives next door, like Disturbia.
Why?
Or
You
the
don't
Burbs.
think that a porn star living next door is like realistic?
No.
Oh, weird, because I thought that was totally relatable. But yeah, like, I mean, is that why? Is it because it's just so crazy, like that would never happen? I'm just curious, like, why is the neighbor premise interesting when most of us probably don't actually have that in our lives? I like movies that mirror real life, and that's not what this is doing at all. Okay, but a premise that I would have liked, and there were still elements, right? There were still elements of it, and the elements that I enjoyed was this movie was actually originally meant to be a spoof of Rear Window.
Okay, I can kind of see that, where they're inserting themselves into someone's life and spying on someone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, we've said before, we enjoy Hitchcock, right? I mean, obviously.
Great. Fantastic.
Right. Now, I don't think we've done Rear Window. I don't even know. Have you seen it?
I have, yes. It's been a while.
It's been a while for me too. A while. But so this movie obviously would be all about voyeurism. So the parts of this movie that you can see Rear Window being spoofed would be, like, for example, Tom Hanks was looking at the neighbors as they were digging in the backyard and kind of like peering at them. But then the part that I thought was most still reminiscent of that voyeurism was Corey Feldman's character.
Yep.
So his whole character is like him sitting on a porch watching the neighbors and, kind of making fun of the adults for doing the dumb things that they're doing.
Right.
And I mean, I found that part of this movie quite endearing. I really enjoyed seeing, him bringing his date over and, like, instead of watching a movie, they
going to the movies
neighborhood.
instead, like that. I mean, I can understand the logic behind keeping a girl at your house when your parents are away rather than going to the movies.
Oh, scandalous.
But, like, I'm not watching my neighbors. We're doing something else.
If your neighbors was about to blow up someone's house,
there was no way that he would have known that.
He knew they were dumb. He knew that they were pretty dumb and they were making some pretty poor decisions.
Feloniously stupid?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Like, Tom Hanks would have earned himself a Darwin Award for that. Like, he would have died.
Yes. So, but I found that part endearing. And I mean, I'm curious, what do you think would have been the premise or difference of this movie if they had gone that route, like the spoof route?
I mean, it's very clearly not a serious movie. Like, it's just, there's nothing here. There's nothing to discuss, to dissect. There's no deeper underlying message behind this movie. There's nothing, no substance.
No, but if they had decided to make it a spoof of Rear Window, what do you think they would have done differently? Do you have any, like, things you think they would have added in there?
It's been so long since I've seen it. I mean, more voyeurism, I guess. I don't, they just know.
More watching?
I don't know. There's just.
I mean, I think that they may have done more of a kind of like a blowback to the voyeur, right?
Yeah.
Like, something where there was some kind of repercussion, whether or not they got killed by the murderer or whether or not they weren't, they were, voyeur was the bad person, some kind of blowback. And
like the neighbors were just weird and they're harmless and you're the horrible person for spying on someone.
Right, because voyeurism is pretty freaking creepy. So like, you're the creep. Like, you're spying on them, but you're actually the creep.
Their yard doesn't look nice, but okay, like, go move on with your life. That's not an important thing at the end of the day.
That sounds like a them problem, not a you problem, so move on, please. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And I also thought if it was a spoof, there would be more funny parts to it.
There was no funny in this. Like, it was not a... It was just
I think it was dry humor, which I'm not always a big fan of. I don't normally... I know that one of the parts that Reddit found hilarious was when, I forget the neighbor's name, but one of the neighbors was peeling wallpaper off the creepy neighbor's house while they were in there.
I mean...
I just thought it was weird. I'm like, why is he doing that?
Just random, like he's fidgeting and has...
Yeah, just, okay. Like,
he's ADD and he's just fucking fidgeting and can't sit still for 5 minutes. I totally relate to that, but...
Apparently that was one of the funniest parts. Another funny part was in the same scene where Tom Hanks was given a sardine with pretzels.
Oh, God.
I kind of just found it gross. I mean, I guess it was funny, and the way he ate it, I guess, was kind of funny, but...
I was just trying to not...
Gag?
Dry heave.
Yeah.
With that, like, no.
No, just absolutely not. But there could have been more funny in it, I guess. But it's just not our type of humor. Yeah. So, like, it could have been just that. Okay, so that is everything for voyeurism. Now, you said that there were a few missed opportunities in the movie.
I mean, I think a big missed opportunity is the whole they're actually innocent, harmless people and you're the bad person for destroying their life for no reason.
Yeah, I think that would have been a better ending, honestly. Yeah. I think that would have been... I would have been more rooting for that.
I also think that if you're going to have Carrie Fisher in this movie, you have to just, like, in a suburban, boring mom type role, they have to do something to tie it back to Star Wars. Like, they're spicing up their relationship and she's cosplaying as Princess Leia or stuff. Like, you gotta
like sunbathing outside in a golden bikini.
Like, you gotta poke fun at...
Have her wearing little buns or something.
You gotta poke fun at the Giants sometimes and make fun of the establishment a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, the house that the creepy neighbors were in was the Munsters' house. So, like, maybe they could have, like, I don't know, like, done a little bit of, like, I don't know, homage to that.
I think there would have been a little bit more, like, awareness of that for, like, just adding those things to the movie.
Or something with Corey Feldman with his, he was in Gremlins. He was also in Goonies.
Yeah.
You know, so, make some kind of, like, a little...
Just tongue in cheek. I mean, Gremlins is even a freaking Dante movie. Like, so just work something together. Make it...
Yeah, just something.
Tie something in to keep us watching.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I love a good, reference in a movie. That would have helped.
It can even be subtle. Like, it doesn't have to be in your face.
No, but I agree with you there. I also think that there was originally an ending that was supposed to have Tom Hanks die, and they cut it because they felt that it's Tom Hanks, so it wouldn't play with the audience.
You can't kill Tom Hanks. Like, has Tom Hanks ever died in a movie?
I don't know. Twitter, has Tom Hanks ever died in a movie? You let us know.
I can't think of a single movie Tom Hanks has died in that I can just come up with offhand.
If you guys can come up with one, tweet it at us or email us, cinematicallycorrect@gmail.com or at cinematically.
He's like the anti-Sean Bean.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to watch it. If he has, that would make me sad. But I don't know. Let us know, guys. But I do think, though, it would have been more interesting to have some more drama there. Like, I feel like the ending of this movie, it was kind of like, well, first of all, it's predictable. But second of all, like, there was no, like, excitement there. You were kind of just like, I don't care, like, what happens here. Like, it's just like, whatever. I want more drama. I don't necessarily want Tom Hanks to die. Maybe, I was going to say, maybe have, like, Corey Feldman's character or something, because he's, like, more of an ancillary, but that's also mean, right? Like, to kill off just the kid.
No,
like, you don't want to kill off the kid.
Or have the guy that has the immaculate house and yard be the actual serial killer or something.
Because of his dog or something?
Well, no, it's just because, the dog is the one from Silence of the Lambs.
That is true.
But no, just the person that you're not suspecting being the serial killer because you have the weird neighbor is actually the monster.
Yeah, do something. Give me a twist.
Give me something more that I can watch about this movie.
Dig my teeth into.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So I mean, there really wasn't much else to this movie, and I feel kind of bad about it because we don't have a full, like, I feel like we don't have like a full 45-minute good like chunk of chatting about this movie, but really there's not much else to it. And I think we've talked about literally everything that's there. I will say real quickly that there are a few different characters where you've got like the older guy with the young pretty girl, and you've got the immaculate, house guy who goes missing. You've got all that, right? But they're not like really defined personalities, and they don't really get any
you have the
screen
really
time.
annoying neighbor that just inserts himself into your life. Like,
Yeah, but they don't give you like enough of them, like enough of their character for you to like have any connection to any of the characters.
See more of the dynamics of the neighborhood rather than just going into spying on the weird neighbors.
Yeah.
Like, there's just nothing there.
Yeah, I need more. I would actually be okay with this being a remake where they did a little bit more. I almost feel like the style of like Clue, where like each neighbor got like a specific like archetype with like a certain house that's like certain like whole thing around it. You know what I mean?
They have to do something different with this movie. Like, they have to retry this movie.
I mean, Joe Dante is still around and making movies. Like, I mean, give it a go, man. Like, do it in a more like, I don't know, make Chris Evans one of them, and like,
or just even have Tom Hanks. He can still be in a neighborhood.
Oh, of course, he can be one, but like, there's.
I mean, he was Mr. Rogers, for God's sakes. He can definitely be part of the neighbor. Won't you be my neighbor?
Yeah, and maybe he can be like affable and like just, this wonderful man.
Yeah.
There's so much you can do. I think this is a good candidate for a remake, so I'm nominating this for a remake. Thank you very much.
I think that's fair.
Okay, so we do have a history minute, do we?
Tyler's History Minute.
I hope. Pray for me.
We have a few. History Minute. Henri Landru was the name of the Great Dane.
I thought you said it was Henri.
It is Henri Landru, because he's French. Was the name of the Great Dane, which I love. That Great Dane. Like, it's the best part of this movie.
So your favorite part is the dog. My
Yeah.
favorite part is Corey Feldman. But okay, go ahead.
I mean, it's just a beautiful Great Dane. Like, they're so classic looking. Like,
Beautiful, yeah.
So that's a nod to a French serial killer to tie it into the creepy factor of the neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
So he was responsible for killing 11 women.
Wow.
He apparently, his nickname was the Bluebeard. I don't know why. Probably because he had a blue beard, would be my guess. But
He had a blue beard, like as in like blue colored.
I mean, that was what came up when I looked at it. So he killed the women seemingly to support a lifestyle. So he basically killed them for their money.
Mm-hmm.
Basically the male version of a Black Widow. Like, he'd get into a relationship with the woman and then kill her.
Nice.
Yeah.
Classy man.
He was executed by guillotine in 1922.
Seems deserved.
His head is actually in the Museum of Death in Los Angeles.
I don't know. I want to see someone's head. I don't.
Well, we went to Los Angeles and there's a Museum of Death. Like, how did we not know that?
I'm sure we did, and we decided that death was not something I really wanted to see memorialized. So
I mean, we went to the Mutter Museum,
which was so cool.
It was so great with all the medical oddities, but also not a good thing for you with your hypochondria.
No.
But I think that would have been cool to see a Museum of Death, as long as it's tastefully done. If it's
I mean, seeing someone's head sounds like it's going to be really tasteful.
I mean, it's a mummified head at this point.
I would think so, depending on how they preserved it, I guess.
So I have that tangentially related to the movie. Also, culdesac is French for bottom of the sack.
That sounds just okay. Mm-hmm.
So it gained popularity in the United States after World War II. And it was originally used to try to limit traffic. So if you can have no four-corner intersections, which are more dangerous, or you can limit those, there's less traffic and less traffic accidents, which did prove true, which also leads to an increase in parents letting their children play outside. So it was designed to kind of fan out and fill in places and build in offshoot neighborhoods that are kind of mini neighborhoods inside of a larger neighborhood.
That makes sense. I mean, I like cul-de-sacs because it's quiet. You can have people, like kids can play in the street and you don't have to worry as much about it. I think they're just, I enjoy them.
Yeah. I mean, if we could live on a dead end road or a cul-de-sac, that would be great because then just preferably with no one else around.
Yeah, I'd like to just live on a plot of land with
Just
no
buy
one.
all of the plots around our house so we are on the cul-de-sac by ourselves.
We are the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, that's what I got for the History Minute.
All right, well, you tried.
There's not a whole lot for a movie about a neighborhood.
Well, next week is not going to be much easier. So
Oh God, it's going to be
good luck, my friend.
so bad.
We did get audience asked, though.
Audience asks.
Okay.
So starting with Real Feels Pod, they said, what neighbors in your past present are odd or creepy that you'd think about sneaking into their house to investigate? What do you suspect them of? So we've given some details. I mean, I've already given my childhood story.
Yeah.
Would you investigate the neighbors that we don't like?
I mean, only to try to plant something in their house to get them arrested and then call the police.
But that's the only one?
Yeah, no, I'd like somehow get my hands on a kilo of cocaine and hide it in their basement and say they have drugs in their house.
Nice. I can't think of other neighbors. I'm trying to think of, like, in my lifetime, if there were other neighbors that were really, really creepy that I thought anything weird of. Obviously, I had the vampires.
I mean, one of my best but also worst childhood memories is getting chased around the neighborhood by a group of my friends in a squirt gun fight where I didn't have a squirt gun. And so I'm just screwed and running around their entire neighborhood.
I don't know how that relates to an odd, creepy neighbor that you would suspect of something. Did you suspect them of something for chasing you?
No, they had that odd neighbor that I went to their house because none of the other kids would go to that house, and I was the only safe spot in the neighborhood.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, but I don't think other than the vampires
I don't think I had weird neighbors, honestly.
Well, you were from Fancy Town, so...
No, we were just the only house for a number of years, and I was like the oldest kid in the neighborhood, so I didn't really talk to any of the neighbors.
Gotcha. Well, yeah. So sorry, Drew. We kind of answered your question earlier. So see 20 minutes back. Two Girls on a Bench said, "Was it a flop? A success? Talk amongst yourselves."
Well, how do I feel about the movie, or how did it do? Because it's a cult classic for God knows what reason.
But it didn't do well in theaters.
No, so it did, but it didn't. So it got horrible reviews, but people loved going to this movie for some reason.
Was it's because of Tom Hanks? Because didn't Big come out right around the same time?
Right before that, I think. Yeah, but it really came down to every critic destroyed this movie, but it still did very well at the box office.
Now, do we know why every critic destroyed it? Because it was just boring.
Because it's a garbage movie.
So what would you say? Success or flop?
I mean, if you're going to go compared to the budget, it made quite a bit more than what they spent on the movie. So the producers think it's a success.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say if I like watching it, it was a flop for me.
Oh, no, yeah. It's a movie that I will never watch again.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I'm happy to say that I've seen it, but I'm also happy to never have to watch it again.
I don't know if I'm actually happy to say that I've seen it.
Whoa, fighting words.
Yeah.
All right. And then Gidget Von LaRue said, would you eat sardines on a pretzel if offered as a guest at someone's home?
No.
No?
No. I wouldn't eat sardines on a pretzel under every circumstance that I can think of.
Would you eat sardines full stop?
No.
No, me neither. No.
I mean, in a scenario where I have a gun to my head, I might just take the bullet.
So I guess I'll add a question to Gidget. What is the weirdest snack you've ever been offered as a guest in someone's home?
I mean, I was on a cross-country trip and my grandfather offered us Rocky Mountain oysters.
Were they good? I love oysters.
No, they're not oysters.
Oh. What? Why?
I did not eat them, for the record.
Why are you laughing? I don't know what Rocky Mountain oyster is.
Bull testicles.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Hard pass, thanks.
Yeah. So they're not oysters.
So that's a strange little,
Did not eat them.
Well,
Don't intend to.
I wonder if that's, like, is that a delicacy somewhere? I would have to assume, right?
I mean, there's a testicle eating competition in the mid. Like, there's it's a big deal out there.
Thank you for sharing. This was not something I needed to know. How did we get here?
Ancillary, not kind of history related, but there's a tournament or like a whole festival about eating bull testicles.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Needed to know that. Okay, so let's move on to reviews and forget that ever happened.
Reviews.
So Rotten Tomatoes, the critic score is a 53. So this is one of Tom Hanks's worst reviewed movies. I don't even want to see the worst one. So I looked at the list of worst Tom Hanks movies.
Yeah.
And there's one that has a 15.
Do you know what it was?
The Circle.
Never even heard of it.
It's actually a newer movie. It came out in 2017.
I'm curious now, though. I'm curious.
So I looked at the trailer. It's basically a big tech company like Google starts controlling the world, and it's kind of like Big Brother and all kinds of awful.
Okay.
But it has a 15 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yikes! Wow. I kind of want to see it just to know why it's so bad, but
the audience score is much higher. It's a 71. Still not a great score,
but it has a following.
It does have a cult following. What is you're going to go first?
My rating?
Yeah.
So I was going to give it a 5. So, see, here's the thing. I love Tom Hanks. Okay, I do love Tom Hanks, and that's going to get brownie points because I love him. And I didn't hate this movie. I was just bored. I didn't connect to anybody. There was no character development at all for me. And I didn't really care about the premise, and nothing shocked me. There was nothing.
It also felt all over the place.
It just wasn't for me. But I didn't hate it. I wasn't it wasn't a 1 for me. I was just bored.
It's not Big Trouble. Bad.
I don't say that. You say that. But yeah, I was just bored.
So there is an active community about this movie. It still is a cult following to this day. God only knows.
It does. It has a message board that is still currently active.
Oh God, I get over it. It's not that kind of movie.
Yeah, and if you were all curious, there is the Burbs Day, which is the second Saturday in July, I believe. Burbs Day, second Saturday in July. Yes, I am correct.
No, that's not a thing that needs to be a thing.
Well, people are really passionate about it. They're so passionate that when they see Joe Dante talking about this movie and they think that he could potentially be referencing the superfans, they are convinced it's them in that board room, and they're talking about how they know and how he's nodding to them, and it's a lot.
It's like the Illuminati. It's that episode of Always Sunny where Charlie's crazy about the conspiracy. Yeah,
they're all about it. So I don't know. Do you have any idea why this would garner such a following?
I have no understanding of why this movie is as interesting as people think it is. I'm going to give it a 3.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
It's only a little bit above Big Trouble. It's just so all over the place. It's got that same kind of nightmare feel as Big Trouble. It's right. It's so bad.
Yikes. I'm sorry, guys. You guys were excited for us to watch
I'm not at all excited. I wish I could unwatch this movie. This is by far and away the worst Tom Hanks movie that I have ever sat through in my life. Granted, that bar is high, but it is just bad.
Yeah, it's not my favorite movie.
So bad.
We do own it on DVD.
You did buy it at the thrift store, yeah?
Yeah, but it's not the best movie for us. We appreciate you guys recommending it, and we will continue to watch your recommendations whether we like them or not. So make sure that you do send those to us.
The highlight of this movie is the music and the soundtrack, because it was very ominous and kind of cool. But
see, I didn't really notice the soundtrack, so I'm actually curious.
We started off thinking it was a horror movie. That's kind of a horror movie.
Oh yeah, I did write down. Is this a horror movie?
Interesting enough, it's the same composer as a movie that we just did.
Which was?
The Ghost in the Darkness.
Oh, another movie.
But the soundtrack was fire.
Well, soundtrack was pretty good, yeah.
Soundtrack and the cinematography, that was actually decent. This was just garbage. across the board.
We need to start getting some higher critic rating movies on our docket so we don't crap all over movies, because we've been doing a little bit of much of that lately. But yeah, so that is everything for this movie. And I'm sorry because I know you guys were excited. But hopefully we don't shit on the next movie you guys recommend. But we do have a really exciting movie next week. And by exciting, I mean, it's going to be another horrible one. I am sure of it.
So this is going to be straight nostalgia because it's R.L. Stine
And
Christopher Lloyd. And we had to put it on the docket because you are going to be selling a copy of this that we found at the thrift store. And as soon as you list it, it's going to be gone.
Yeah, it has an amazing sell-through rate, but it has everything that you need in a nostalgic movie. It just looks so
it's
awfully
going to be
good.
So bad that it's hopefully going to turn the corner.
Yes. So after that, we're going to try to watch a few more.
We're going to have to like filter to highest rated on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, we're going to have to do a little bit of digging. But I'm excited for this because it's something we found out about. We didn't know anything about it. I'm just really excited for it. So I want to know if you guys have seen this movie. I am going to put the audience ass out there. I don't expect to get much information from you guys. I expect it to be a zero audience ass podcast, but it's going to be really fun. So I'm excited for that. So we will be back on. Well, we're going to try to come back on Wednesday, but we are going to be posting when we can post.
Yeah.
Schedule's a little bit wonky, but we don't want you guys to miss episodes. So
we are trying our best. It's going to be an adjustment with my new job. So the movie's going to be When Good Ghouls Go Bad.
Yes. So if you have a way to see it, please do. Please watch it before you come and listen because we don't want to spoil it. This looks amazing.
It looks so incredibly bad that it's good.
Yes. So come back for that next week. We will be back really soon. Thank you to Jake at This Music for our intro and outro music. And we'll be back next week with When the Good Ghouls Go Bad.
Yeah, When Good Ghouls Go Bad. There's no thought. Thank you all for listening.